Hi everyone, welcome to a Stamping to Share video. My name is Kate Kalthoff and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm going to share with you this great card that my clubs got to make in March. Just fantastic. It's an Easter card, of course, but you could leave the sentiment off and make the card to your own choosing. And I received a swap card from Jane Allison at Leadership this past January, and I knew I was going to save it for my club ladies. They just loved it, and so do I. So I'm going to show you how to create this card. Now I did bling it up a little bit, but it is very close to what Jane created back in January. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we'll need, of course, is the Blessed Easter stamp set. That's this black stamp, or this black stamping here on the card. And then you will need the Happy Watercolor stamp set. There's 3 images in the Happy Watercolor stamp set that I just absolutely love. There are a couple of shadow stamps. They have the various tonalities in them. Looks like a brush stroke. And then there's these dots. And I mean, this is the perfect stamp set. It's got some nice background images. It's got a couple of great floral images. It's got sentiments. Just love it. So let's go ahead and find out how the paper situation works. To start off with, we have some gumball green cardstock, and I've cut it at 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm scoring it at 4 1/4. And of course, this just gets folded into a card shape. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and just make sure that's nice and creased down. Then we're going to take our watercolor designer paper, and I've pre-punched it with my 1 1/4 inch square punch, and I punched out 10 of these squares because we are going to put them on the card like this. And you don't have to be super exact on this. You do want it to look somewhat even, but I'll just start out and show you kind of how I do it. So I just grab a square and I put a little bit of glue on it. Well, maybe I'll put a little bit of glue on it. Let me see if I can get this glue to flow a little bit better. So when I need to have my glue flow, it's sort of like a syringe situation. I just take my paper piercer and I poke it up there, and then generally that gets the glue flowing pretty easily. There we go. Oh, now it's really going to flow. In fact, I'm going to take this glue and put it on top of this paper, so we've got glue for 2. So I'm just going to center that up in this corner, and then the next step is to go ahead and center one up in this corner. And that way I know that as long as I keep these corners somewhat similar, and then I could take my third piece and I can center that in right here. So you can see it looks all pretty even. And then I go down and I do the same thing down here at the bottom. I center in this one, and then the next one here, like this. And then finally my middle one, because in my middle one I can put, you know, I can get that right in between it and make sure that looks nice and even, like that. And then there's nothing to it, because then the sides, they just fill in. You can see how easily that would fill in. I'm not going to take the time to glue those down because I have one already prepared. Here it is, and you don't need to put any of the 1 1/4 inch squares through the center because that will be covered up with your main image. So I call this the tiled technique because it's just a tiled look to your background paper. And you can use any kind of background paper. I just happened to pick this one because I love the colors in it for Easter. Well, actually, I picked it because Jane had picked it originally, and I loved hers so much that I wanted mine to look just about like hers. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to do some stamping. Our base paper that our image is going to be placed on is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then this is where we're going to do our stamping on a 2.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece of Whisper White paper. So I am going to get a piece of scrap paper in here, and we've got our black Stays On ink, and then I've got the Blessed Easter stamp, And I did leave the sentiment intact for this particular one. And I'm just going to stamp it like this. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put those swooshy watercolors into this image. And so I have my swooshy watercolor look right here. And then I'm just going to bring in some Daffodil Delight and stamp that, but I want to stamp it off so we get the lighter color. So that's the first one. And then the next one is Crisp Cantaloupe. But I need to clean this because I don't want to contaminate my colors. So one thing I do in my classes that really works slick is I just put like a wipe inside one of these plastic boxes. So then a couple of dabs into the wipe and then off on scrap paper, and I'm ready to go with the next color. That works really great for my customers. So I'm going to stamp off and then stamp on here. So we're using second generation images. Now, again, I'm going to clean this off, just pressing it in here and then taking it over to my scrap paper and kind of making it, you know, so it's not super wet. And then the last color is our Gumball Green. Ink that up. And then I'm just going to, again, stamp that off. And then we'll just put this at the bottom like this. And there we have our lovely graduated spring colors. And then I am going to just take some snail and adhere that to that Gumball Green base that I had showed you earlier, 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. So that's just a 1/4 inch bigger. And then we're just going to set this right here. The next step is to grab some Gumball Green stitch satin ribbon, and I've cut 2 pieces at about 4 inches each. So I'm just going to take the first one and wrap it around, and then I'm going to use some Scotch tape and secure that ribbon in the back. And do the same for this side. And then taking the second strip of ribbon, we're just going to do a once over. I'll show you that. Just a flip, and we've got our second ribbon in place. And then I have a ribbon scissors just to trim this up and get it to look all nice and neat. And then to bling it up a little bit, I'm going to take some of these little gold sequins that I've already gone ahead and put on glue dots. I'm just going to take one off and put it about right here. And then we'll put another one right there. Now I don't want to do too much bling, but I think a little bit adds a lot. And then we're going to take this little strip here. I've just cut, maybe a little less than 3.5 inches or so. And I'm going to get a glue dot and put that. I'm just going to put that right on top of the glue dot, press down, and then again, grab it with my wonderful paper piercing tool. And I'm just going to lift up this knot and set this right underneath the knot. Get that flipped over a little bit. I think I've got it. There we go. So it looks like this. So we have our image panel completed for our card. So now all we have to do is put dimensionals on the back of this image panel and set it right on top of our card. So let me go ahead and do that. Now I had one ready over here, so I'm just going to use that one because I already put the glue dots on the back. Let's see, get that pushed in a little bit. So that's what that looks like. I put about 5 glue dots on the back, and I'm just going to center this into my card. And our Easter card is complete on the front. Isn't it so cute? I just love it. Now the inside of the card, we are going to need a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White paper. And then on the other side, I took a coordinating piece of the Watercolor Wonder Designer paper that coordinates with the front of the card. I used a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece, and I'm just going to take a little bit of snail on that panel and attach it to the inside of my card. And the card is complete. And I think that will really brighten someone's day when they open up their mailbox and get a beautiful Easter card like this. So thank you, Jane Allison, for sharing this idea at Leadership in one of your swaps. And I hope you've enjoyed learning how to create this card as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And thank you so much again for stopping by Stamping to Share. Bye-bye.